in the brutal, unforgiving octagon of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where flesh meets bone and will clashes with will. Every punch, every takedown, every submission attempt is a meticulously calculated gamble, a visceral dance of devastation, where only the strongest, the most adaptable, truly survive. But what happens when the fight isn't confined to the canvas, isn't dictated by the referee's call? What transpires when the battle shifts from raw physical prowess to intricate political maneuvering, from the warrior's code of honor to the cold, calculating equations of corporate cower? Tonight, we peel back the layers of a saga that has sent seismic shockwaves through the very foundations of the MMA world. A story where the traditional boundaries between athlete and administrator have not merely blurred, but seemingly dissolved, igniting a firestorm of controversy and speculation that threatens to redefine the sport's delicate ecosystem. Imagine this, a titan of the heavyweight division, a man whose meteoric rise has been nothing short of miraculous, a British phenom capturing an interim title with a performance so utterly dominant, so breathtakingly efficient, it echoed through the packed arena and reverberated across every corner of the globe. His name? Tom Aspinall. A humble giant hailing from Bolton, England, Aspinall embodies the quintessential modern martial artist, possessing the bewildering speed of a lightweight, the technical acumen of a grappling savant, and the concussive power of a true heavyweight. He ascended to the very precipice of the sport with a string of finishes that left both fans breathless and opponents bewildered, each victory a testament to his relentless pursuit of perfection. His reward? A shimmering gold interim strap, a tangible symbol of his temporary reign, a sacred promise of a future clash, an epic confrontation to unify the division, to solidify his claim as the undisputed, unchallenged king of the heavyweights. The narrative seems straightforward, almost preordained, destined for a triumphant unification bout against the legendary reigning champion, Jon "Bones" Jones. The legions of fans demanded it. Aspinall, by all rights, deserved it. Or so we were all led to believe. Then the insidious whispers began, the faint, then growing, rumblings of a potential super fight, a narrative twist so audacious, so profoundly disruptive, it threatened to derail Aspinall's meticulously crafted, hard-earned path to greatness. The name Stipe Miocic emerged from the shadows, not as a valiant challenger for Aspinall's interim crown, but as the chosen, preferential opponent for Jon Jones, effectively sidelining the rightful interim champion entirely. The frustration was not merely palpable, it was an explosive, collective groan from the entire MMA community, a chorus of disbelief and indignation. Aspinall, a fighter usually characterized by his calm demeanor and composed professionalism, found his voice, not with aggressive confrontational rhetoric, but with a deeply felt plea for fairness, for justice, for the absolute sanctity of the sport's meritocracy. He spoke out, articulating his profound disappointment, his genuine confusion, and his absolute, unshakable desire to fight the best, to prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that he was the one true heavyweight champion of the world. And in doing so, in daring to voice his truth, he unwittingly stepped into an arena far more treacherous, far more politically charged than any padded cage, the formidable, unyielding realm of executive power. Enter Dana White, the enigmatic, often volatile, and notoriously unfiltered president of the UFC, a man whose audacious vision single-handedly transformed a niche, almost outcast sport into a global, multi-billion-dollar phenomenon, a figure whose unilateral decisions, for better or worse, have shaped the destinies, shattered the dreams, and forged the legends of countless fighters over 2 decades. White's authority within the organization is not merely significant, it is in practice absolute, his word often serving as unassailable law. For years, an unwritten, yet universally understood, rule has governed the fighter-promoter dynamic. Challenging Dana White directly, especially in the harsh glare of public scrutiny, is not just a gamble, it is a profound, career-altering peril. It is a move that has historically led to protracted periods of career stagnation, overt promotional sidelining,
or in the most extreme and cautionary tales, outright dismissal from the organization. The annals of MMA history are replete with such grim lessons, with cautionary tales of fighters who dared to challenge the formidable hierarchy, only to find their careers irrevocably altered or abruptly terminated. So when Tom Aspinall, a fighter rapidly becoming a global fan favorite, a potential torchbearer for a new generation, dared to voice his grievances, the entire MMA ecosystem collectively held its breath, suspended in a moment of profound anticipation and dread. The stakes were not just astronomical, they were existential. Was Aspinall simply advocating for himself, for the integrity of the heavyweight division he now fronted? Or was he unwittingly, perhaps even deliberately, engaging in a dangerous, high-stakes game of chicken with the most powerful and influential man in all of combat sports? The internet, a veritable echo chamber of opinion, exploded. Pundits, former fighters, and armchair analysts alike debated furiously. Fans took sides, their loyalty divided between a rising star and the architect of their beloved sport. Headlines screamed with hyperbolic urgency. Aspinall warned to not fight Dana White. The very notion of a fighter fighting their promoter, not with the brutal efficacy of fists and feet, but with the potent weapons of words, public sentiment, and moral appeals, became the central, burning, inescapable question that dominated every conversation. What does it truly mean for a fighter to be warned in such a context? What are the unspoken repercussions, the invisible chains that bind? Is this an elaborate test of Aspinall's mettle and resolve, a crucible designed to forge or break him? Or is it a stark, chilling reminder of who truly holds the immutable power, who pulls the strings, and who ultimately dictates the narratives within the UFC empire? Tonight, we delve deep into the heart of this unfolding drama, meticulously examining the complex power dynamics, the unwritten yet universally understood rules of engagement, and the potential, far-reaching fallout for one of the sport's brightest and most promising stars. This isn't merely about a title fight, a belt, or a ranking. It's about the very soul of the sport, the delicate balance of power between the gladiators and the emperor, and whether a fighter's legitimate voice can truly challenge the entrenched authority of the promotional juggernaut. Stay with us as we unravel the intricate complexities of this unprecedented confrontation, a story that encapsulates the raw, unfiltered essence of modern combat sports. The octagon might have its clearly defined boundaries and its strict rules, but the political battlefield, it seems, has absolutely none. This is the fight that's gripping the world, a conflict where the gloves are truly off, and the consequences could reshape legacies, careers, and the very fabric of the UFC forever.
The warning to Tom Aspinall isn't an isolated incident. It's a chapter in a long-running, often contentious narrative between UFC fighters and the man who steers the ship. For decades, the promotion's iron-fisted control has been a double-edged sword. It created a global powerhouse, elevating athletes to unprecedented fame and fortune, yet simultaneously demanded absolute fealty to its overarching vision. Consider the pantheon of legends who dared to challenge the status quo. Tito Ortiz, whose tumultuous relationship with Dana White became almost as famous as his fights, leading to repeated standoffs and eventual departure. Randy Couture, a multi-division champion who left the promotion over contractual disputes and the perceived stifling of his career, publicly lamenting the limitations placed upon fighters. Even more recently, the likes of Alistair Overeem faced significant promotional pushback after voicing grievances, demonstrating that regardless of star power, the pecking order remains sacrosanct. These historical precedents serve as stark reminders, a silent counsel for any fighter contemplating a direct challenge to the authority of the UFC president. They underlie a fundamental tension, the pure, competitive spirit of sport versus the cold, calculated realities of a multi-billion-dollar entertainment enterprise. Tom Aspinall's argument, however, isn't one of mere financial grievance or contractual minutia. It's a principled stand for sporting integrity. He's not demanding more money. He's demanding the fight he believes he earned through meritocracy. "I've got the interim belt," Aspinall stated, his voice calm but firm in a post-fight interview. "I've beaten everybody in front of me. I should be fighting Jon Jones." His point is simple yet profound. The UFC has always prided itself on pitting the best against the best, on an undeniable path to championship gold. By sidelining him for a fight between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, two legends certainly, but both significantly older and one inactive for years,
the promotion seemingly abandons its own established hierarchy. Aspinall's frustration isn't merely personal, it resonates with a global fanbase weary of money fights overshadowing legitimate title contenders. From Dana White's perspective, the decision is likely rooted in strategic financial imperatives. A Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic bout is a dream matchup between arguably the two greatest heavyweights of all time, a legacy fight that commands enormous pay-per-view revenue and mainstream attention. It's a guaranteed blockbuster, a super fight that transcends regular championship implications. The business side of the UFC empire often dictates these moves, prioritizing spectacle and revenue over the linear progression of a division. While Aspinall represents the future, Jones versus Miocic represents a seismic collision of the past, a grand finale for two era-defining figures. The warning to Aspinall, whether explicit or implied through actions, isn't necessarily a personal slight, but a strategic reminder of who sets the agenda. It's a message that the biggest fights, the most profitable narratives, ultimately originate from the top. Yet the implications for Aspinall are profound. Publicly expressing dissent, even politely, can carry unforeseen consequences. It can be seen as undermining promotional narratives, as creating unnecessary noise in a tightly controlled ecosystem. Some speculate that the warning is a test of Aspinall's resilience, an initiation into the harsh political realities of the sport. Will he continue to press his case, potentially alienating the very power brokers who control his destiny? Or will he retreat, accepting his fate and patiently waiting for the promotion to decide his next move? The psychological toll of this uncertainty, the feeling of having earned something only to have it withheld, can be immense. Training without a clear target, without the ultimate prize in sight, can be soul-crushing for an elite athlete. For the British market, Aspinall is a burgeoning superstar, a homegrown hero poised to lead the next generation. Delaying his undisputed title shot risks dampening enthusiasm, potentially frustrating a crucial demographic. The UFC has invested heavily in expanding its global footprint, and Aspinall represents a key figure in that expansion. The subtle yet potent political angles here are not lost on industry observers. Is Dana White willing to risk alienating a significant segment of his fan base and a rising star for the sake of a legacy superfight? Or is this a calculated gamble, trusting that the power of the UFC brand and the allure of Jones versus Miocic will ultimately override any lingering discontent? The debate rages on, in forums, podcasts, and sports desks globally. Is Dana testing Aspinall's commitment to the long game, pushing him to prove his worth beyond just in-cage performance? Or is this a purely business-driven decision, where the integrity of the sporting ladder sometimes takes a back seat to the spectacle? The silence from the promotion regarding Aspinall's next step, the deliberate ambiguity, speaks volumes, leaving the interim champion in a purgatory of unfulfilled ambition, a stark reminder that in the UFC, the fight sometimes begins long before the cage door closes, and the most formidable opponent might not be standing across from you, but sitting in the owner's box.
From the political chessboard of promotional power, we turn our gaze eastward to a land where a different kind of intensity defines destiny. High in the Caucasus Mountains, nestled between ancient traditions and modern aspirations, lies Dagestan, a republic forged in the crucible of hardship, renowned globally for producing some of the fiercest, most disciplined combatants the world has ever seen. This is not merely a region, it is a philosophy, a way of life steeped in the martial spirit, where wrestling isn't just a sport, but a rite of passage, and inherent part of the cultural fabric. Here, boys are taught to grapple before they can properly run, their futures often envisioned not just in the mosque or the marketplace, but in the unforgiving embrace of the wrestling mat. The legacy of Imam Shamil, the legendary 19th century resistance leader who famously defied the Russian Empire for decades, still permeates the air, a silent testament to the Dagestani spirit of resilience, unyielding will, and an almost fanatical dedication to overcoming adversity. It is from this harsh, yet fertile ground that a new breed of UFC champion has emerged, personified by the lightweight king, Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is more than just a fighter. He is the embodiment of this Dagestani crucible. His training camp is not merely a gym, it is a monastic institution, a place where weakness is purged and strength is forged through an almost unimaginable daily grind. The philosophy is simple, brutal, and profoundly effective. Iron sharpens iron. This isn't just a mantra, it's the operational principle of every session, every drill, every moment spent preparing for battle. The world-famous AKA gym in California under Javier Mendez is one of his homes, but the heart of his training ethos remains firmly rooted in the Dagestani Samba and wrestling traditions passed down by his cousin and mentor, the legendary Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib's undefeated reign wasn't an anomaly. It was the direct result of this relentless, unforgiving training environment, and Islam has inherited and amplified that legacy. The focus is singular: dominance. Every aspect of Makhachev's training is geared towards imposing his will, breaking his opponents physically and mentally long before they ever step into the octagon. This involves an almost ritualistic approach to conditioning, strength training that pushes the human body to its absolute limits, and grappling sessions that are less about practice and more about simulated combat. His Sambo background provides a unique blend of judo throws, brutal takedowns, and relentless submissions, making him a nightmare for anyone daring to stand or grapple with him. The stories from his training camps are legendary, bordering on myth. Whispers circulate of a, quote, revolving door of sparring partners, each one entering the camp with hope, only to emerge battered, bruised, and often broken. This isn't malicious intent, it's a cultural norm, a shared understanding that to train with Islam Makhachev is to willingly enter a meat grinder, to submit oneself to a higher purpose, the champion's success. The expectation is not to compete with Islam, but to survive, to learn, and to contribute to his preparation, even if it means sacrificing one's own physical well-being. This environment fosters an unparalleled level of mental toughness. When every day in the gym feels like a fight, the actual fight becomes just another Tuesday. This transition from student to champion under Khabib's exacting mentorship has been a masterclass in succession. Khabib didn't just teach Islam techniques, he instilled in him the relentless mindset, the psychological warfare that defines Dagestani dominance. From the grueling weight cuts to the unending drilling of takedowns, Islam has internalized every lesson, every sacrifice. The visual cues in their interactions speak volumes. Khabib, stern and focused, offering terse, precise instructions. Islam, eyes alight with unwavering commitment, absorbing every word, translating it into action. This brotherhood, forged in sweat and shared struggle, is the bedrock of Makhachev's burgeoning legacy. The destroying training partners angle isn't just hyperbole, it's a stark reflection of the intensity required to prepare a fighter destined for greatness, a testament to a training ethos where the only acceptable outcome is absolute, unequivocal victory, no matter the cost to those who stand in his way during the endless, brutal days of preparation.
The tales from Islam Makhachev's training camp are not merely whispers, they are foundational legends, echoing with the raw, visceral truth of what it takes to forge an undisputed champion. When we speak of destroying training partners, this isn't simply an exaggeration for dramatic effect. It refers to a calculated, systematic process of physical and mental attrition, where the goal is to replicate the unforgiving intensity of a real fight, pushing every participant to their absolute breaking point, and often beyond it. Training with Islam is like fighting 3 rounds with a fresh opponent every minute. One anonymous training partner, his voice strained with remembered effort, might lament, "You think you're ready, you think you're tough, and then he just grinds you down. He never stops. He breaks your posture, he takes your breath, and then he just keeps going, relentlessly. You tap not because of a submission, but because you simply cannot take another second of the pressure." The sheer severity of these sessions manifests in concrete ways. Injuries are not anomalies. They are almost an expected cost of entry. Twisted ankles, bruised ribs, sore necks, exhaustion-induced muscle pulls, these are the badges of honor, or perhaps the scars, accumulated by those who step onto the mats with Makhachev. Another coach from his camp, his face etched with experience, might describe it. "We have to rotate partners constantly. Nobody can take a full camp directly with Islam without breaking. We bring in fresh bodies every few days because the physical toll is just too much. It's not about winning a round against him. It's about pushing him for however long you can before you inevitably crumble." This speaks to an almost industrial process of conditioning, where human limits are met, tested, and regularly surpassed. The ethical implications of such a brutal regimen are often debated outside the confines of Dagestan. Is it merely extreme professionalism, a necessary evil in the pursuit of greatness in the world's most demanding sport? Or does it cross a line, potentially causing undue harm to those who, for the good of the team, willingly become sacrificial lambs? The perspective within the Dagestani camps is unambiguous. This is the path to success. The training partners understand their role as essential components in the champion's preparation. They accept the pain, the injuries, and the mental exhaustion as part of a collective effort, a shared sacrifice for the glory of their team, their region, and ultimately their champion.
It's a testament to loyalty, a stark cultural contrast to the often individualistic nature of Western sports training. The personal cost is secondary to the ultimate prize. This relentless intensity, this willingness to destroy in the gym, translates directly and terrifyingly into Islam Makhachev's in-cage performance. His fights are characterized by an unbreakable will, a suffocating pace, and an almost psychic ability to predict and counter his opponent's moves. He doesn't just win rounds, he steals souls. Opponents enter the octagon against Makhachev already knowing the reputation of his training, the tales of his dominance over multiple fresh bodies daily. This creates a psychological advantage even before the first bell. The what-ifs and the "can I possibly hang with this man" begin to gnaw at them, eroding their confidence. In the octagon, Makhachev's relentless pressure is a physical manifestation of his training ethos. He rarely allows opponents a moment to breathe, constantly seeking the takedown, the control, the dominant position from which he can systematically dismantle them. His ground and pound is not just about inflicting damage, but about sapping energy, breaking spirit. His submissions are tight, unforgiving, often coming after minutes of grueling control that have already exhausted his foe. The numbers speak volumes. His statistical dominance in control time, his incredibly low rate of significant strikes absorbed, his relentless output, all are direct consequences of a training regimen that pushes every boundary. He doesn't just defeat his adversaries, he grinds them down to dust, leaving them exhausted, demoralized, and often questioning their very will to fight. This isn't just about physical superiority, it's about psychological warfare, waged relentlessly both in the unforgiving confines of his training camp and under the bright lights of the UFC octagon. While his training partners may bear the immediate brunt, the ultimate beneficiaries are Islam Makhachev's opponents, who, despite their own formidable skills, often find themselves facing a fighter who has already conquered a dozen battles before they even step foot in the cage. It's a stark, brutal truth. The secret sauce to Islam Makhachev's undefeated aura in the lightweight division is a willingness to suffer and to make others suffer in the relentless pursuit of absolute victory.
From the relentless grind of Dagestani wrestling, our journey takes us to another realm of combat mastery, one defined by the art of the knockout. This is the story of Alex Poatan Pereira, a man whose presence in the octagon is as stoic as it is terrifying, a striking maestro who has redefined what is possible in mixed martial arts. Pereira's journey is not just extraordinary, it's cinematic, a true rags-to-riches saga born from the depths of poverty and alcoholism in São Bernardo do Campo, Brazil. He found salvation not in the gentle embrace of faith, but in the brutal beauty of combat sports, transforming himself from a struggling, lost soul into a kickboxing phenomenon. His transition to MMA was late, unexpected, and utterly explosive. In the world of professional kickboxing, Alex Pereira was already a legend. He held titles in Glory, one of the sport's premier organizations, amassing a record that boasted an astonishing percentage of knockouts. His signature weapons were his left hook, a concussive blast that could render opponents unconscious in an instant, and his powerful right hand, often used as a setup or a follow-up to his devastating lead weapon. The footage of his kickboxing career is a highlight reel of clinical, brutal finishes, showcasing an innate understanding of timing, distance, and power that few possess. His ability to read an opponent, to find that fraction of a second opening, and to unleash fight-ending power with either hand or even his thunderous leg kicks made him a truly feared presence in the stand-up arena. What makes Pereira's story even more compelling is his relatively late entry into mixed martial arts. Many doubted if a pure striker with limited grappling experience at the highest level could adapt to the multifaceted demands of the UFC. Those doubts were emphatically shattered. Pereira's UFC debut was a clear statement of intent, followed by a rapid, unprecedented ascent through two weight classes, middleweight and light heavyweight. His progression wasn't gradual, it was a series of quick, decisive victories, each one a testament to his raw talent and the devastating efficacy of his striking. He possesses a unique striking style, raw, almost primal power, combined with surgical precision and a deceptive, almost unnerving calm. In the chaos of the cage, Pereira operates with the collected demeanor of a hunter, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to unleash his destructive arsenal. He doesn't waste energy. Every movement is deliberate, every feint a calculated probe. This calm belies the explosive violence that resides within, a violence that can be unleashed in a fraction of a second, often ending fights with a single perfectly placed shot. His training footage reveals the dedication behind this power, thunderous heavy bag work that rattles the very foundations of the gym, intricate pad work with his mentor and former UFC champion Glover Teixeira, where explosive combinations are drilled to perfection.
Teixeira, himself a powerful striker and grappler, has been instrumental in honing Pereira's MMA game, guiding his transition, and strategically shoring up his wrestling and jiu-jitsu defenses just enough to allow his striking to flourish. The nickname Poatan, meaning stone hand in his native Tupi language, is more than just a moniker. It's a cultural identifier, a nod to his indigenous Padishah heritage from Brazil's Bahia state. It speaks to a deep connection to his roots, a proud warrior tradition that manifests in his stoic demeanor and his stone-cold power. This calm exterior, often misinterpreted as indifference, is in fact a profound reservoir of focus, a shield against the intense pressure of elite combat. Outside the cage, Pereira is a man of few words, humble and respectful. Inside, he is a force of nature, a silent assassin whose hands carry the weight of his ancestors and the power of a sledgehammer. His journey from alcoholism and despair to a two-division UFC champion is a powerful narrative of redemption, a testament to the transformative power of discipline and the unyielding spirit of a man who found his true calling in the art of striking, leaving a trail of unconscious opponents in his wake.
Alex Poatan Pereira doesn't just win fights, he changes the psychological landscape of divisions. His power is so palpable, so utterly devastating, that it forces a paradigm shift in how opponents approach him. When you step into the octagon with Poatan, you are not just fighting a skilled martial artist. You are fighting the ghost of a knockout, the ever-present threat of instant oblivion that can descend with a single, perfectly placed strike. This creates a unique brand of psychological warfare, where even the most seasoned veterans find themselves hesitant, their usual aggressive tactics tempered by a primal fear of his legendary stone hands. As renowned MMA analyst Daniel Cormier once mused, when Pereira touches you, the fight can just be over. That changes everything. Fighters are thinking about it from the moment they sign the contract. The defining chapter of Pereira's middleweight run, and indeed a significant part of his entire UFC narrative, was his intense, deeply personal rivalry with Israel Adesanya. This wasn't just a series of fights, it was an epic cross-sport saga. Pereira had already defeated Adesanya twice in kickboxing, including a knockout that haunted the last stylebender. When they met in the UFC, the narrative was electrifying. Adesanya, a pound-for-pound king and one of the greatest strikers in MMA history, sought redemption. Their first UFC encounter at UFC 281 was a roller coaster, with Adesanya dominating moments, seemingly on the verge of victory, only for Pereira to unleash his patented left hook in the 5th round, snatching the title in a dramatic comeback. The crowd erupted, disbelief mingling with exhilaration. It was a testament to Pereira's resilience and his unwavering belief in his power, even when behind. While Adesanya would later reclaim his title with a stunning knockout, their rivalry cemented Pereira's status as a legitimate, top-tier threat, a man capable of overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds. Pereira's next audacious move was a testament to his ambition, a rapid, almost unheard-of transition to light heavyweight. Not only did he move up, but he immediately challenged for the vacant title against the dynamic, unconventional Jerry Prochaska at UFC 295. Against a fighter known for his aggressive, chaotic style, many predicted Pereira would struggle. Instead, he showcased his evolved ground defense, stuffed takedowns, and once again found the kill shot, landing a thunderous left hook that put Prochaska down, securing his second UFC title in a second division within a remarkably short period. This achievement instantly placed him in an elite echelon of multi-divisional champions, sparking punditry on whether he's simply a flash-in-the-pan phenom riding a wave of power or a true generational talent destined for an all-time great legacy. The consensus among experts now leans heavily towards the latter. Pereira's ability to quickly adapt to nullify wrestling threats just enough to unleash his striking speaks volumes about his innate fight IQ and the quality of his coaching under Glover Teixeira. He doesn't just possess power, he understands how to deliver it, how to create openings, and how to manage the octagon. His relatively short MMA career, few professional fights compared to most champions, yet his profound success is a compelling argument for his innate talent and focused dedication to striking mastery. While others spend years perfecting diverse skill sets, Pereira perfected a weapon and then adapted the minimum necessary defensive tools to let that weapon sing. The Poatan effect extends beyond the cage. Fans chant his name with a fervent energy that mirrors the impact of his strikes. His quiet demeanor, his stoicism, creates a mystique, making his explosive in-cage performances even more compelling. He rarely trash talks, preferring to let his fists do the talking, a refreshing contrast in an often bombastic sport. His legacy is still being written, but already Alex Pereira has carved out a unique place in UFC history, a man who found his calling late, rose rapidly, and redefined the power of precision striking, demonstrating that sometimes one devastating weapon, wielded with perfect timing and unwavering belief, is all you need to conquer the world. We have explored 3 distinct yet profoundly interconnected sagas within the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Tom Aspinall, the interim heavyweight champion, locked in a subtle but significant power struggle with the promotional titan Dana White, fighting not with fists but with words and the weight of sporting principle. Islam Makhachev, the lightweight king, embodying a brutal, relentless training ethos forged in the unforgiving crucible of Dagestan, where the quest for dominance pushes both himself and his training partners to their absolute limits. And Alex Poatan Pereira, the striking maestro, who through sheer concussive power and tactical brilliance has ascended to multi-divisional championship glory, leaving a trail of unconscious opponents in his wake. What then unites these disparate narratives? The common threads weaving through their stories are undeniable. First, the omnipresent force of extreme dedication. Whether it's Aspinall's unwavering commitment to his craft and his rightful claim, Makhachev's monastic devotion to his training regimen, or Pereira's lifelong mastery of striking, each man embodies an almost fanatical dedication to excellence. They are outliers, driven by an internal fire that pushes them beyond conventional limits. Second, the immense pressure. Aspinall faces the pressure of expectation, both from fans and himself, to become an undisputed champion, coupled with the political pressure of navigating a system that sometimes prioritizes spectacle over sporting lineage. Makhachev shoulders the pressure of maintaining a championship legacy, upholding the honor of his region, and justifying the brutal sacrifices made by his team. Pereira, too, faces pressure to continue his improbable ascent, to prove he's more than just a knockout artist, and to defend titles against a hungry new guard. Then there is the element of controversy and ambition. Aspinall's situation is overtly controversial, sparking debates about fairness and hierarchy. Makhachev's training style, while effective, sparks questions about its severity and the human cost. Pereira's rapid rise and unique skill set often invite scrutiny and debate among purists and pundits. All three are driven by an unshakable ambition, a burning desire not just to win but to dominate, to leave an indelible mark on the sport. Each represents a different facet of what it takes to reach and remain at the pinnacle of the UFC. Aspinall's struggle is against the system itself, a fight for meritocracy in a world increasingly swayed by marketability. He challenges the notion that a fighter's destiny is solely in the hands of the promoter, asserting his right to the next logical step. Makhachev's battle is internal and external, pushing his own physical and mental boundaries, and by extension, pushing his training partners to theirs. His fight is about absolute, undeniable physical and technical superiority, forged through relentless, brutal repetition. Pereira's journey is one of overcoming perceived limitations, adapting a specialized skill set to a broader combat form, and doing so with devastating efficiency. His fight is about raw, undisputed power, and the ability to find the perfect moment to unleash it. Who faces the toughest test? This is a question that sparks endless debate. Some might argue Aspinall, for his fight is against an intangible, an opaque system where rules are fluid and power is absolute. How do you punch a contract or submit a promotional decision? Others contend Makhachev, as he must continuously push human endurance, not just his own, but that of everyone around him, in a ceaseless quest for physical perfection, all while carrying the immense weight of expectation. Still others advocate for Pereira, who, despite his natural striking gifts, entered a sport where his primary weakness, grappling, is a fundamental component, forcing him to adapt and survive against specialists while still delivering his signature fight-ending moments. In essence, these three narratives converge on the inherent contradiction at the heart of the UFC, the unwavering desire for pure sporting integrity clashing with the undeniable demands of a global entertainment business model. The gladiators fight for glory and legacy, while the empire balances that against spectacle and profit. The decisions made by Dana White and the UFC hierarchy, the brutal dedication of its champions, and the meteoric rise of its striking stars all feed into this complex, often thrilling, often frustrating ecosystem. It's a tangled web of power, politics, and pure combat, where every move, inside and outside the cage, carries immense weight. The common ground is this: to be at the top of the UFC is to live a life of extreme intensity, where the stakes are always astronomical, and the fight is never truly over, even when the final bell rings. As our exploration concludes, the futures of Tom Aspinall, Islam Makhachev, and Alex Pereira remain imbued with both immense promise and tantalizing uncertainty. Their individual journeys, while distinct, collectively paint a vivid portrait of the modern Ultimate Fighting Championship, a crucible of ambition, power, and unparalleled athletic endeavor. For Tom Aspinall, the question burns: will he get his undisputed heavyweight title shot against Jon Jones? Or will the political machinations of the UFC continue to sideline him, forcing him to take less significant fights while his prime years potentially slip away? Can he navigate this intricate political landscape without sacrificing his principles, without alienating the very fans who champion his cause, and without jeopardizing his career trajectory? The interim belt, once a symbol of his achievement, now feels like both a promise and a burden, a tangible representation of a future that seems frustratingly out of reach. His fight is not just for gold, but for the very integrity of the sport's meritocracy, a battle fought with diplomacy and public appeal against an almost impenetrable system. The path ahead for Islam Makhachev is equally compelling. Can he maintain his brutal dominance, his almost perfect record against an ever-evolving lightweight division? The relentless, almost inhuman intensity of his training style is the bedrock of his success. But what is the long-term cost, both for himself and for the cadre of training partners who sacrifice their bodies and minds for his ascent? Does such sustained, extreme effort lead to burnout, or does it simply harden him further, cementing his legacy as one of the most unbreakable champions in UFC history? The whispers of potential injuries, the strain on his camp, the sheer physical and mental toll, these are the hidden costs of absolute, undisputed dominance, a price paid in sweat, blood, and unspoken sacrifice. And then there is Alex Powhatan Pereira, the silent assassin. Can he conquer a third division, pushing his incredible, improbable journey even further into the annals of all-time greatness? His rapid ascent has been breathtaking, but the challenges ahead will be formidable, with a new cast of hungry contenders in every weight class he touches. What new strategies will opponents develop to counter his legendary power? Will his relatively undeveloped grappling defense ultimately be his Achilles heel, or will his power and tactical striking continue to defy expectations? The Powhatan will need to evolve, adapt, and continue to deliver those fight-ending blows if he is to cement his legacy as a true multi-divisional GOAT, a testament to the power of specialization in a sport that demands versatility. These three narratives, each a testament to the raw, unfiltered essence of combat sports, leave us with a profound, lingering question. In this electrifying, cutthroat, and often unpredictable world of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, where legacies are forged and shattered with a single moment of brilliance or defeat, and where the battle extends far beyond the cage itself, who truly controls destiny? Is it the fighter, with their unyielding will, their brutal dedication, and their extraordinary talent? Or is it the system, the powerful infrastructure of promoters, matchmakers, and business decisions that ultimately dictates their path, their opportunities, and their place in history? The answer, like the future of these incredible athletes, remains an open-ended, thrilling enigma, a testament to the enduring drama of the fight game.